Today we're going to talk about social impact, which is another way to say giving back. And future sessions might cover personal brand or how to get your foot in the door at your dream company. So we're always going to switch up what we talk about. And each session will also feature a guest speaker or two that will give you that industry perspective. All right, so let's meet our presenters. We've got a few introductions. First is Laura Vasquez. I'm sure everyone here knows her. She is the marketing and office administrator at Mexican Fiesta. She set up our call today, so thank you, Laura. Next is myself. My name is Mina Rabideau. I am the current ambassador for Miss Mexican Fiesta. I work in consulting and tech, and my specialty is data science and analytics. And our special guest today is Kristela Cervera. She is the Assistant Family Court Commissioner, Milwaukee County Family Court Commissioner's Office. And after our presentation, we will have an active discussion with Kristela. So please think of a few questions you might want to ask her. We also have two additional Mexican Fiesta staff on the call, Teresa and Andreas. Teresa Mercado is the executive director of the foundation, and Andreas is the newest team member with the role of executive assistant and operations lead. Now let's catch up with the foundation. We weren't able to interact with them this year at Fiesta because of COVID, but that doesn't mean that their great community work has stopped. So we've kind of broken down their community impact. So for students, their all-time scholarship contribution is $1.78 million. So you'll see that's gone up quite a bit. Even in this hectic year with no Fiesta, they still gave out 36 scholarships that totaled $23,000. So that really is incredible. And I hope that you all can see that. Last year, as a comparison, when we had all the business, we were able to give away 58 scholarships totaling $45,000. In terms of community, the 2019 economic impact of Mexican Fiesta was over $8.6 million. So that means that's how much money came into our city just because of this event. And they also granted $5K to local nonprofits in 2019. As far as health, you might not think of this as a health foundation, but this year they were really able to pivot and give back to the community surrounding COVID relief. So in partnership with two other local orgs, I'm not sure if you knew, but the foundation gave away $70K in funding to local families that they could use on, groceries, necessities, things like that. They also assembled 60K face masks at their office for local business distribution. So they've been up to a lot, and I hope that you feel a little bit more caught up with them. All right, just advance my slide. So now we're going to do a warm-up activity. We're going to switch gears. So if you head to menti.com on either your phone or your computer, whatever you're watching on, whatever comfortable for you, and throw in this access code. We're going to do a quick warm-up activity. So I'll give everyone a couple minutes to get to this website, menti.com, and enter this access code. Can anyone come off mute and let me know if they were able to find that?
Yeah, I was able to.
Great, thank you. Okay, so here is our screen. And that's our first question. How do you give back? So you're going to menti.com and using this code and just answer the question, how do you give back? And we're going to see who we've got on the call and what their answers are. Fiesta staff, don't hesitate to fill this in as well. There we go. So we're starting to get some answers pop up on the screen. Donations, time commitment, volunteering, Mentoring, that's a great one. Connecting with others. I really like this word cloud because you'll see this bigger words here. That means that more people have submitted that answer. So this group was really into volunteering and giving their time. Also seeing some donating pop up. I think that this time of year, we start to see a lot more fundraisers. Mentoring. Great. Tutoring. External clubs. I like that one. Leadership. Dedication. Donations again, donating. So this is great. A lot of you are already giving back in one way or another. And later on in the call, we're going to talk about other ways that are perfect for this age group to continue giving back, maybe after college or in different ways you might not have thought of before. So our next question is, tell me what category you fit into so we know exactly what to speak about. Are you an associate degree student, a bachelor degree student, maybe in your early years, bachelor degree in your last few years, post-grad, or an advanced degree, so law school, grad school? Okay, great. We're all over the place, just what we thought. It seems like bachelor degree, that's where we are for the most part. Awesome. This really helps us tailor what we're talking about. So thanks for answering this one. Great. And if this is the Wisconsin Hispanic Scholarship Foundation, if we have volunteer opportunities, so maybe it's something outside of Fiesta, like the mask assembly we were talking about earlier, how should they contact you to volunteer? You know, they've got a new volunteer opportunity. How would you like to hear from them? Looks like personal email. Great. We want to make sure we're contacting you in the right way. We've got some email junkies here. I can definitely relate to that. Great. Couple of us like social media, a few for the newsletter, then some more for email blasts, and really a personal email is best. That's good to know. Okay, and the last question is just kind of to get you guys thinking. I'd love to hear, you know, we are a community of Latino students, but what is the most inclusive term? What do you guys use as far as these terms right now? This is kind of a popular topic. Which of these do you find the most inclusive? Latinx, okay. Latino, Latinx, Hispanic, all kind of interchangeable. This is a new one I've recently heard, Latine, because some people say that you can't say Latinx in Spanish. So that's where Latine comes in our speech when we're speaking in Spanish. So interesting. Okay, that was just sort of a brain teaser. So thanks for filling that out. So now we're going to head back to our deck and continue on. So social impact for all. This is really the meat of what we're talking about today. Finding a way to give back that resonates with you and maybe finding something else that you can do. So the first one, this is by far what everyone put in our word cloud, is giving time. This is traditional volunteering, giving your time directly to others or to organizations that support your values and your passions, right? It's really, you know, you can start to see that maybe you're always volunteering with the same types of orgs, and that's really common because they usually center around causes that you care about. The next way is grassroots fundraising. So we also talked about that a little bit, about donations. That's how a lot of you said you give back. And I wanted to give you guys some tips on grassroots fundraising. So that means, how do you raise more money from individual donors? That's going to be people like us. If you're starting up a Facebook fundraiser, or if you're starting up a GoFundMe or a small fundraiser, there are a couple of things you can do to get more money out of an individual person. So just a normal person, not a very rich person or not a corporation, that individual person. And what works for them, first off, is curated lists. So that's why a lot of times on social media, you'll see things go viral that are a list of organizations, especially around racial equity. This summer, I know I saw a lot of posts being shared and reshared and shared again that had a list of organizations that you could support. That's because curated lists have been proven to help people donate more, so they feel less overwhelmed by the immense number of organizations out there. So if you give a list of 3 organizations to give to, people are more likely to hit the next step to give. The next one is just setting a fundraising goal, saying, I would really like to raise $100. I'd really like to raise $1,000, and this is why. Our instincts as human really want to reach that goal. And the last one is positioning giving as a gain versus a loss. So if you can do any kind of storytelling to say, by reaching this $100 goal, I'm able to give away 5 backpacks full of school supplies to kids. So people are thinking of it as a gain versus a loss. That also works really well. Okay. Our next topic is virtual volunteering. So 2020 has taken a lot of volunteer opportunities online. You can connect with organizations worldwide right now to make an impact. And our team kind of talked about, let's share some of these links out later. But don't let this virtual world deter you from volunteering and doing that face-to-face that you might really thrive on. You can still do that via Teams. You know, you can tutor over Teams, anything like that. You can volunteer at a school, in a classroom, all in a virtual format. The next one that is very not well known is junior boards. So a lot of us might have heard of a board of directors before at a company or a board of directors at a charity, but there are also junior boards. So a board of directors is usually very senior people. They might be executive level, so that means they're at kind of the peak of their career, and they sit on board of directors because they have a lot of experience and they have a lot to offer there. But there are a lot of these junior boards popping up that are meant for our age people. So post-grad, a person that's a couple years into their work experience. So they're a great leadership role for those that not only want to give their time, but they really want to direct the strategy behind organizations too. If you've got a business mindset, this is perfect for you. So this is something that you could look into as maybe the next step at after you've done a lot of volunteering and want to switch it up, look into a junior board. The next we kind of look into, we're kind of progressing along our timeline and maybe we're at our career stage now. So careers in nonprofits, this isn't always something that is top of mind for us when we're choosing careers or looking to do a job search, but nonprofit roles really allow you to integrate what you care about and what you can be paid for, really help you feel that fulfillment at work. And they operate very similarly to startups, and that is because there are usually fewer people working there. And that is really a great opportunity for people that are early on in their careers because they get experience in a lot of different departments at once. So a really great training opportunity would actually be taking on a nonprofit role. And finally, we have careers in local government. If you are someone that really wants to impact large-scale change, I would definitely consider a career in local government or law, because that is what you're going to, you want to change the policy. You're really interested in changing the system or breaking down barriers. This is a great avenue to go in, and Kristela is going to talk a little bit about that later. Any questions so far? Okay, no problem. Our next slide is leveraging volunteer work. So how do we use our volunteer work to further our personal or career goals? The first one is scholarships. This is probably the one we're most comfortable with. You should look for scholarships at organizations that you volunteer with, especially if you're volunteering at a local chapter of a larger org. They most likely have more scholarships to offer you. And when you're writing those essays and scholarship apps, be sure to highlight your volunteer work and incorporate storytelling to make your application even stronger. This is kind of a key word here, storytelling. So look that up and find out a little bit more about that. The next one is getting that first job. If you're looking for your first job, you might have little to no career experience, which is perfectly normal, but you do have volunteer experience that counts. You know, you were organizing, you were leading. Don't forget to include those volunteer and leadership roles on your resume because you learned a lot there, and a lot of those responsibilities do translate to jobs. And not only that, but when you have those volunteer roles on your resume, it makes it a lot easier for the interviewer to relate to you. The next one is once we're at work, aside from your day-to-day role, gotta move this over so I can see, find ways to give back at work. At most companies, there are entire departments focused on corporate citizenship. That is what volunteering and giving back is called in a large company. So how can you get involved there? Are there ERGs or BRGs that you can volunteer with? And an ERG is an employee resource group. So all companies have those. They're sort of like informal communities within a company. All of those +1 roles will be considered at promotion time, and they're a great way to show that you are invested in that company. And the last thing is making a career shift. One day you may wake up and realize that your current role or industry no longer interests you, and look to make a drastic change. This might have already happened to many of you with a major shift in college, but it might happen with your career as well. And you can get your foot in the door in a completely new industry by volunteering first. You can volunteer at industry associations or help out at your local org in the department you wish to switch to. So what I mean by that is if you are a business major or you are a STEM major engineer and you really want to shift into marketing, you could reach out to Mexican Fiesta and say, I really want to get more experience with marketing. Is there anything like volunteer I could help you with to gain those skills? And you'd be surprised at how many would take that help. All right, so now we talked about, let me just go back. We talked about ways to leverage them, and now let's quickly go over documenting this volunteer work. You really need to focus equally on your qualitative and quantitative impact. So qualitative would be, what did you improve or influence? How did you innovate? Millennials and Gen Zers are innovators, 100%. They see problems and they see ways to fix them. So include that on your resume. And quantitative, how many lives did you touch? How much money did you bring in? Quantify the changes you made. So if I were talking about leading this call today, I might say, you know, there's 20 students on the call. That's how you can quantify this type of work. So this stuff isn't really talked about much, so we wanted to highlight it today for all of you. And if you have any questions or want to dive further on any of these points, just let us know. And next, we're going to break out into our guest discussion. We have Kristela Cervera, so I'm going to turn off the deck now. If any of you would like to come on camera, that would be great. Don't worry if your family is in the background or your dog or your child. That's perfectly fine. We're going to ask Kristela a few questions. We've got some prepared, but if you have any, just put them in the chat. Okay. Kristela, how are you feeling? How's your day going?
So far, so good. It's been a great day. I had a long day of hearings, but I'm very happy to be here, and I'm so grateful to have been invited to speak to all of you today. I just love speaking to students, and I wish I could see your faces, and had we been in person, we could have had this discussion one-on-one, but I'm glad to take on this experience and talk about a subject that's near and dear to me with all of you.
Thank you so much. We were so excited to have you, especially as our inaugural speaker. So please just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your professional background.
All right, thank you. Well, I am a 2001 graduate of the University of Wisconsin Law School. It's hard to believe that I've been an attorney for 19 years now. I obtained my journalism Bachelor of Arts from UW-Madison. I graduated in 1998. So I've been a licensed attorney for that long. Right out of law school, I joined the Kenosha District Attorney's Office. So I prosecuted for almost 2 years. I loved working in Kenosha, and the experience was awesome. There's never a dull day in that line of work. But I definitely wanted to be back in Milwaukee, and a classmate of mine who is now a judge had contacted me and said that there was a position with an organization that is no longer in existence in Milwaukee, Esperanza Unida. I worked for them briefly, but the director of over 30 years had an aneurysm, so then things were unsure. I ended up taking a position with Milwaukee County as a state's attorney in the child support department, and I was there. I've been with the county ever since, and I've been a circuit court commissioner, an assistant family court commissioner since March of 2019. So I'm going on almost 2 years now as a court commissioner. But it's been an interesting 2 years, with my first year being in person, handling hearings in person, and now I've been working from home and doing the majority of the hearings here at home since March. We've been home. I do report to the courthouse for some in-person hearings for restraining orders, the domestic violence injunctions and the harassment injunctions. So I do those in person for a full week, every 8 weeks roughly. But it's been an eye-opening experience. And I'm grateful, and I enjoy that line of work very much. I have the best of both worlds, being a public lawyer, but also handling family cases. So it's a different role, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit, being a judicial officer. And just to give you a little personal information, I was born in Eagle Pass, Texas, which is right on the border. But I was raised here in Milwaukee. I came when I was a child. I've been here ever since. And just, I don't know what schools the students in our audience have come from, but I'm a graduate of Rufus King High School, for anyone who may be affiliated with Milwaukee Public Schools.
Great. Students, yeah, drop your alma mater in the chat. Personally, I went to Oak Creek High School. So, Kristela, does a commissioner mean lawyer, or what does commissioner exactly mean?
I'm actually a court official, and similar to a judge, it's an appointed position. Judges here in Milwaukee County are elected. I'm one of 10 court commissioners for the family division as an assistant family court commissioner. There are 10 other court commissioners that are in the mainly criminal and juvenile divisions. So altogether, there are 20 court commissioners for the county that serve all of the municipalities within this county. So I'm basically one of 20 court officials. We have 46, I think, circuit court judges. So we hear many of the cases and assist the judges with those cases in family court. So I hear cases pertaining to paternity establishment. I make initial orders in divorce cases when they're first filed for temporary orders. I also hear the requests for pertaining to the restraining orders, and I hear a lot of post-judgment motions in family law cases. So I make decisions, some of which can be finalized if the decisions that I make are not appealed.
Wow, that's amazing. We already have a question for you from Juliana. She said, "Hi, Kristela, current Wisconsin law student. How did you approach imposter syndrome in the field and/or feelings of alienation as a woman of color?"
Imposter syndrome is real. The fake till you make it. I think I understand that concept, because there a lot of times, especially right out of law school, I felt like I was definitely an imposter, but just taking it one day at a time. It takes time to learn to be a lawyer. You don't know everything as soon as you finish law school, and so trying to being able to say I don't know the answer to something is something that was very hard when I was first out of law school, because everyone assumes that you know pretty much everything. So being able to say I don't know, being willing to take the time to research something is just how I overcame that feeling of feeling like I'm not really supposed to be here, and feeling like I had to I had to fake it until I made it. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we all feel that, and that feeling of imposter syndrome, that's, if you've never heard that term before, it's kind of the feeling that you're going to be found out at any moment, like you don't belong somewhere or you're not qualified to do the job that you do. And it is so common.
Right. In terms of the question related to pertaining to alienation, you know, I can think of some situations that were interesting. I'll say, you know, you just gotta dust it off. There may be times where things happen, gotta shake it off and keep going. I think not spending too much time dwelling on it, but not apologizing, taking up the space that you need to take, speaking up, and challenging yourself to do those things, because I know that that can be very difficult, especially in a field. It can be intimidating when you're outnumbered, not only because you're a woman, but also because you're someone with a unique background.
That's a great answer and great advice. So I'd love to know how the foundation has supported you, and what impact did your experience with the foundation have on your professional career?
A profound one. I've been volunteering, or I had been, with Mexican Fiesta. I started when I was 14 years old. My sister is also a lawyer. You might have heard some of her commercials. She's a private lawyer. She has her own firm. I like to joke because she's a graduate of Marquette. I'm a graduate of UW-Madison, so she's on a private track. I was always on a public track. I'm a public lawyer, or a lawyer in the public interest, and she has her own private firm. But I was recruited by her, and I started in the children's area, and then eventually graduated to the cultural pavilion. But we were all volunteering at some point. My mother served as a judge for the costume contest. My nieces were involved with Mexican Fiesta. It was essentially a family affair. It was a commitment that we made. But in terms of how I benefited, or how this foundation has supported me, there's been opportunities to speak, share my experience with students. But the most valuable was the leadership opportunities that I had through volunteering, public speaking. Many times other individuals didn't want to introduce acts on the stages, at children's stage, speaking in the cultural pavilion, meeting with the performers and making sure that the show goes on, working on those skills. I didn't consider myself to be a very, what's the word? I considered myself to be a very reserved person, and I still am to some extent, but it took some work getting me out of my shell. And I think that my work through volunteering with Mexican Fiesta and through the foundation is what got me out of that. I had to interact with the public. I did this on an annual, every year. I had to interact with individuals who I didn't know, and I had to be quick on my feet. Those are all skills that employers are looking for. And the foundation, because I was committed, because it was something that I did for so many years, employers are extremely, I cannot stress this enough, impressed by having that type of commitment on your resume. Because you might change your part-time jobs. You might change even a professional job in your lifetime. But having a long-term commitment to an organization like Mexican Fiesta, where you can showcase your culture and share it with others, and then get some credit for doing it, it's a win-win situation. But every time that I had interviews in my professional life, it was always something that I could point to. It was always something that was of interest to the employers. And it also was an easy way to inform them of my my background, my cultural heritage, the fact that I'm bilingual, all of those things without necessarily having to put it in black and white, so to speak. So I would, that is how the foundation has supported me and how it's continued to support me, and I hope to continue the relationship.
Thanks, Kristela. Salmai, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Could you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hi, Kristela. I was just wondering if you had any resources that you would recommend. I'm a junior in college thinking about law school. So, I mean, is there anything that you would recommend me to do?
And you're a junior in college, definitely reach to the student organizations. There may be a pre-law organization, an undergraduate organization. Definitely reach out, because they oftentimes have a connection to the organizations that are in law schools. But I would also encourage you to directly contact some of the student organizations at the law schools as well. They can definitely put you in touch with some of the events that they may be hosting. You can start to talk to some of the students to find out what law school is like, so you can figure out whether it's right for you. When I was a student, I was also affiliated with the Latino Law Students Organization at UW Law School, and we definitely connected with students. We encourage them to shadow us. You should definitely look into that to determine and take advantage of it if you have the opportunity, so that you can see what law school is like, see for yourself, and then visualize yourself being there. I think that's one part. So I would encourage you to do that from where you are at this stage, being a junior in college. That's an excellent place to start. Eventually, once you are in law school, or if you're much more serious about law school, you can certainly reach out to lawyers. You can observe at the courthouse if you want to observe some hearings. Those are open to the public. There's also the Marquette Volunteer, the MVLC. I'm blanking out on what it stands for, but it's through Marquette. You can contact them. I would encourage you to do that, and ask to see if you can arrange to observe some of the volunteer work that happens at their clinic. So there are different resources that you can try to connect with in order to figure out whether law school is for you and whether this is a field that you can see yourself in.
Thank you.
And that MVLC is the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics.
Right.
All right. What type of societal change do you feel you impact in your current role? Being bilingual, we have to do the hearings in English, but we have interpreters, and I feel I am so grateful to be there, because I understand what's being said. Sometimes I've even, not that I've corrected the interpreters. Of course, my Spanish is nowhere near as good as theirs. They are certified, but because it's fast-paced and because there are different ways to interpret different things, on occasion I've mentioned, no, I think she said X when they have interpreted Y. And so they will say, oh, yes, I agree. And then they'll clarify that. And sometimes it makes a difference. A lot of times it doesn't make a difference, but on occasion that happens. So I'm grateful to be there for that reason, because so many of the individuals who we're starting to see speak Spanish primarily, or come from other places and don't necessarily, do not really trust the legal system or believe that it is there to help them or assist them. And I'm going to speak about this primarily from the family court perspective. I'm also grateful because I can treat the cases involving these individuals just like I would a person who is English speaking, who may not, who doesn't have the disadvantage of having to communicate through an interpreter. Because for many years I've been a part of thousands of hearings, and I've seen hearings where some individuals their hearing was shorter because perhaps the court official didn't really have the patience to
wait for the interpreter to try to do a thorough hearing because they had to go through the interpreter. And then there's the frustration of the individuals who are trying to be heard and communicate because they have a problem that needs to be addressed. So that's why I'm grateful to be able to make an impact, at least on one case at a time, using the skills that I have and the cultural background and that I have. Being able to understand individuals who speak Spanish primarily is just one piece of it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's so interesting to kind of unpack these questions and really look at what am I changing, and it's so clear the impact you're having on our community for the better. So this is a group of Latino students. Can you tell us a little bit more about the diversity in your field? And how do you manage when you're the only woman or woman of color in the room? You kind of touched on that already, so maybe you can just let us know kind of behind the covers. Is it diverse? Is it safe? What could we expect?
Well, for a long time, there was only one court commissioner who was Latina. She became a court commissioner in 2001, and she's my boss. So that's 1 of 10, and now I've joined and I'm second. Which, by the way, I should probably mention, I was a court commissioner briefly for the city of Milwaukee. Well, not so briefly, for about 8 years on a part-time basis, and I was the first Latina appointed as a circuit court commissioner, or I'm sorry, court commissioner for the city of Milwaukee. But now I work for the county, and as for the county, I'm one of 3 out of the 20 court commissioners, circuit court commissioners that I mentioned. So in terms of numbers, I think the court officials, the number could go up. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that that many of those court officials, and I'm including the 6 or so judges of the 46 that are Latinos, I don't think any are of Mexican ancestry. I think I'm the only one. So to be one of the biggest cultural groups of Latinos, it's a little disheartening. I wish there were more. I think one of the other circuit court commissioners may be of Mexican and Honduran and Mexican heritage and of Honduras as well. So I should count her as well. But I would like to see more. So I hope that increases. And I don't know why it is. But we can hopefully through these sessions, we can start to change that, encourage others to come into this field.
Absolutely. It sounds like we already have 2 people on our call alone that are looking into this field. So our last question for you, and if you guys have other questions, please put those in the chat. But our last question is, how are you creating that space for the next generation of Latino leaders in this field?
That's a great question. Anytime that there's been an opening at the county that in the roles that I have held, I've certainly reached out, forwarded it to my colleagues. I've also been a part of the Wisconsin Hispanic Lawyers Association, and that was another way to try to relay the information. And sometimes the timing just, I guess, doesn't work, but I'll keep doing that. And just being willing to mentor others when I see newer attorneys who just trying to be that friendly face, because I know learning the law and the practice isn't always an easy one, but I can choose to be a patient court official and one that is willing to teach. I can't always do that in every case, but that's something that prior to becoming a court commissioner, I always tried to do, even if it was an attorney that was on an opposing side, was try to teach what I have learned, because I know that much of what we do as lawyers, we learn by doing. So that's how I'll continue to make space. Humbly offer my contact information in case anyone wants to reach out and talk about the profession. That's also another way that I will hopefully continue to create space and encourage others to join me anytime there's a chance to do it.
That's amazing. And I hope some of you guys on the call will take Kristela up on that. That's what we really want to get across for this series is we have these professionals and they just want to help you in any way that they can, whether it's a referral, whether it's mentorship, whether it's, you know, here's what grade I'm in right now, what year I'm in, what steps should I take right now, what resources, or can you introduce me to this person? You know, I'm a couple degrees of separation away. Can you bridge that gap? So thank you so much, Kristela. Is there any final pieces of advice you'd like to share? Or
I would just urge, if you're not sure what else you can do to get on that path, if you're interested in going on to law school or a profession in that field, but this is true for really any field, is just take up those volunteer opportunities. That's take advantage of it so you can demonstrate not only that you're a trustworthy person, but a reliable person. There's true work experience that you can get from volunteer work that will translate as real world experience that you can use, whether you're going to go on to law school as I have, or whether you're going to go into other fields. So I would certainly encourage you to keep that commitment, and definitely contact me if you would like to chat further. I'm certainly willing to do that. So that's what I would impart you all with.
amazing. Thank you so much again for speaking with us, for joining the call, giving us some time after work. I hope that you guys all see that the foundation is still very invested in you. Aside from providing you with that scholarship, whether you're still in school or already graduated, we want you to keep working with us, keep that relationship, and find a way to give back that is comfortable for you and that you're interested in. So we're here for you. Laura just put something in the chat about Giving Tuesday. So that is tomorrow. Has anyone heard of Giving Tuesday before? Jennifer's nodding, Kristela's nodding. So that is, we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and this is Giving Tuesday. So it's sort of the next day in our spending. And it's supposed to be, you know, giving back now. We kind of bought gifts for family, maybe treated ourselves, and now let's give back to the community on Giving Tuesday. So I hope that maybe you'll consider giving or just sharing. That's also fantastic. We're going to announce this campaign tomorrow. Laura, anything else you want to add, or Tere?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. Thank you, Mina, for bringing this exceptional topic. Thank you, Kristela, for participating. And I invite everyone just to be part of the foundation. Please visit us at www.mexicanfiesta.org. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities, or please contact Laura at Mexican Fiesta office. We are here year-round. Besides the support that you may be receiving through the scholarship award, there is a lot of opportunities under the mentorship and leadership umbrella that the foundation is working very hard just to provide all the Hispanic students in our community. Thank you, everyone.
And also, just to give you a message before we disconnect, all the people that connected to, all the students that connected to this session are going to be entering to a raffles. We have some raffles, also a laptop raffle. So we're going to be putting your name on the drawing. So we're going to continue with the sessions. We're going to send you another email for the next one, and just to be in contact with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks everyone. That closes this session. I hope you'll stay tuned. We'll stay in touch with you via email about volunteer opportunities and our future sessions. So thank you, everyone. Feel free to drop off.
Bye.